Hey everyone! Welcome to our lecture this week on punishment, discipline, and guidance. This lecture is going to set the foundation for the remainder of our class, as we are going to talk about the difference in the definition between these three things, as well as lay that fundamental foundation so that we're all speaking the same guidance language through the course. I'm going to minimize myself now so you can focus on the rest of the lecture. Okay, so punishment is really the suffering of pain or loss as retribution, and it's inflicted by others. It's intentionally inflicted. The idea being, you did something wrong, therefore I'm going to inflict this penalty. It can be severe, rough, or harmful treatment, but that doesn't mean just physical. It can also be emotional as well, and it is the act of punishing. Oftentimes, these sorts of punishments are over the top, so to speak, but they don't have to be. As I mentioned, they can be physical, but they can also be emotional, and they are often separate from the infraction themselves. So the punishment inflicted doesn't really have anything to do with the action that is being punished. Here are some examples. I took away my son's favorite toy because he was hitting his sister. Irregardless of the toy's implication in this action, the toy was taken away. The protesters were blasted with a fire hose, so the authorities using that fire hose water as that punishment for the protesters. And if you commit murder, you will go to jail. Excuse me, sorry about that cough. Again, jail is a separate punishment from murder. Now we're going to talk about discipline. Discipline is about training. It's about being discipled. And the root of the word is, about being disciplined. The root of the word is disciple. And if we use that as the root, that sort of makes sense. It means to follow in someone else's image. It can be incentive-based. It's often thought of as a training mode where one is getting trained to act in a specific way or a specific model. It can also be a branch of knowledge, typically in higher education. So we have examples for this as well. The first being the army must be disciplined before going into battle. This makes perfect sense, right? If each member of the army is doing whatever they want to do, the army's missions will not be carried out fully. So the individuals must be disciplined and know what is expected of them as they are entering into battle. I have very disciplined study habits. I set aside an hour each night to review the coursework. That's about me imposing a way of being on myself that will lead to a successful outcome in the future. And finally, ECE, early childhood education, is a growing discipline. That relates to this last definition here, where we're talking about an area of study. And then finally to our definition of guidance. This is really about that leadership, instruction, and direction. The root of the word guidance is obviously guide. So this is really about helping guide others towards an outcome. It is designed to be a supportive word in nature. And it's a very common word in early childhood, but we don't always use it in the intended sense. Sometimes we use the word guidance when we really mean discipline or punishment, like those other definitions that we talked about. So here are some examples. I sought guidance from my boss about what I was supposed to do in a difficult situation. And the advisor gave me guidance about which classes to take. Both of these people in this example, the boss and the advisor, they have some level of knowledge that can help the person grow or move in a particular fashion. So now we're going to talk about how do these relate. So you see that we have over here a box for punishment, over here a box for guidance, and then we have this gap in between. This gap is highly intentional. Punishment and guidance never overlap. They actually are at direct odds with one another. Punishment is designed to be punitive. It's intended to hurt, to teach a lesson. Again, it doesn't have to be physical. It can be emotional hurt. It's really never a positive. The purpose of punishment is to have someone say, I don't want to do that again because I don't want to be in trouble. Whereas guidance is about helping someone become a refined form of themselves. And as you can see, it's highly positive, and its intent, like we have talked about before, is to lead, encourage, model, and teach. So we can see over here that punishment and discipline have some overlap. Provide negative reinforcement for next time. That falls under discipline as well as punishment, in that if you are training somebody, let's think about that military sense. If you are training somebody to act as a soldier in a particular way, if they do something out of line, there may need to be negative reinforcement in order to get them into line. And over here in the guidance area, there's one overlap with discipline as well, which is encourage skills and self-regulation. When someone is highly disciplined, we often say, or we use the term highly disciplined for someone who is highly self-regulatory. So that's why it falls under both discipline and guidance. So to use an example here of timeout, when we think about timeout, it falls in this punishment. A child does something that we do not approve of. Therefore, we impose a separate punishment, withdrawal and removal from a group in order to send a message. That often has an emotional component and does not fall into this positive guidance realm. It's not about supporting them to make different decisions. It's about teaching them not to make that decision or they will lose a privilege. It is isolative and it is an arbitrary consequence. Therefore, we stick it under punishment. So now quickly, I just want to talk quickly about guidance practice today. If we are looking to impart democratic life skills in order to help children progress as members of society, then our aims are to help see a child as a worthy individual and capable member of the group, to express strong emotions in non-hurting ways, to make decisions ethically and intelligently, to work cooperatively in groups to recognize and resolve common problems, and to be understanding of human qualities and characteristics in others. Those all fall under our guidance practices for this course. Thanks for joining me for this little mini lecture, and I hope to see you all soon.